1 month into the new year, and the Eurozone economic recovery certainly does appear to be continuing. But Paul Hannon is here to explain why the data may not be that good after all, and why the rally in the euro could actually pose a problem. Paul, Spanish GDP contracted by 2.8% in the fourth quarter of last year. That's not good news.
No, the thing about the data today is that the bad news isn't as bad as it seems, and the good news isn't as good as it seems. Spanish GDP was affected by the introduction of a sales tax in the fourth quarter. What that meant is that a lot of Spaniards shifted their spending back to the third quarter. So you really have to sort of average those 2 quarters to get a good picture of what's going on. And if you do that, it doesn't look like the situation is getting much worse. It's not much worse than the first half. Obviously, that's a long way from it getting better.
You're hedging your bets here, seriously,
yeah,
Paul.
Very seriously.
Okay, let's look at Germany. We've had confidence figures in the last couple of days that have been amazingly good, and you think, well, hold on a second here. Spain is contracting by that much, but Germany is actually doing so well.
Yeah, we had Eurozone-wide confidence figures this morning, and they attracted a considerable amount of attention, and they looked promising. I mean, confidence across the Eurozone as a whole was up, but if you disaggregate it, break it down, that's almost entirely due to the German move, what we saw previously in the EFO.
So basically what you're saying here, Paul, there is no improvement on the divergence. There are the good economies, and you got the bad economies. Germany up here, Spain and perhaps some of the others way down there.
Well, look, one good economy and lots of
better than none at all,
economies where the jury is still out. Sentiment in France fell. Sentiment in Italy was flat. There were other places like Portugal, for example, where confidence fell again. So it does suggest that if there is a recovery in the Eurozone, it will be very heavily concentrated in the strongest economy, Germany.
Okay, but obviously one of the problems there is, well, hold on, what do policymakers do? I mean, making policy for economies in those at those various stages remains a major problem.
Yeah, I mean, the game hasn't changed that much, it has to be said. I mean, this has been true for policymakers for 2.5, 3 years now, maybe even for longer. I don't know what they do about it in the past. Frankly, they've tended to ignore it a little bit and hope that the longer term repair of the southern economies will eventually get them to a point where they too share in the pickup.
Okay, one of the good sides of this is that the peripheral yields, that's the borrowing costs for the bigger debtor countries, has actually fallen. We see Greece nearly falling underneath 10%, all good news. But at the same time, this has started a real rally in the euro. We're now over 135 against the dollar, the highest level since, I think, what, November 2011 or something. Hold on, that's a strong currency. That's the last thing some of those countries need.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate development. Can't be good for anyone, frankly. And you already see signs that it may be affecting the manufacturing sector in particular across the Eurozone. To go back to this survey I spoke about earlier, the Commission survey, it found that confidence in industry picked up, but they were reporting already a fall in export orders. And to bring in a little notice part of this survey, a quarterly question they ask, which is, how competitive do you feel on world markets? They found that the proportion of companies in the Eurozone who feel competitive has declined since October and is a lot lower than it was in January 2012. So they should know, right? They're seeing this on a day-to-day basis. Are they getting orders in? Do they feel like they can go out there and win a contract against international competition? They're feeling less confident. What's changed in the last 6 months? The currency, right? That has to be the main driver behind it.
So as a betting man, would you suggest that this improvement in the Eurozone economy is actually going to continue, or could actually get stifled and strangled pretty quickly?
I don't know if it'll get stifled and strangled, but it's not going to be very strong. You can't see, if you don't have domestic demand, you have to depend on exports. What we've seen from the Spanish number today is the demand domestically just isn't there in large parts of the Eurozone. Without a good chance of competing on international markets, it's going to be very difficult for them to grow their way out of this.
Well, thank you very much indeed.